Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play the Factorio Way. The Timix here, and we are going again now, moving forward, and I did a little bit of relaxing in terms of trying to do everything perfect. Starting with this video, I don't really need to treat it like a speed run anymore and obsess about getting everything done the most efficient way possible, because we no longer have the threat of rampant hanging over our head, so I'm just trying to move forward in a reasonably efficient manner. Now, the first thing I wanted to do was get the radar up because we need more coal. And got to consume more coal with the radar in order to find out where there might be more of it. So, I wanted it to be somewhat fairly central because the radar will expand at a set distance. It'll scan a set distance around. So, the more central it is, the better that's going to be for us. But I also want it to be out of the way, so I end up putting it over here. I ended up not being quite out of the way, I ended up moving it a bit further south later on, but it's close. So we got the radar going. That's our number one priority, and it's whirring away. It calls itself Noggles. It can call itself whatever it wants, so long as it does the job. Next on the agenda was getting this stone area situated, and this is not a perfect setup, but it was the best, sort of quick and dirty solution now that I came up with anyway. The main thing I wanted to do is get all of the raw stone as it's converted from the crushed stone into one area. So you can see I added a belt over here. I've got this sort of snaking around. There was another long hand inserted here, but instead I just have this emptying out this way and putting the belt in. And then we added this stone wall maker assembler with a chest tucked in here, so we're really using all the space in this area. It's really cramped, but it's getting everything done that I want. And so we've got all the stone going to this chest, and then I can turn it into whatever, stone bricks, or leave it there and in the raw stone, have it come back over here if I need it. Everything else can get turned into bricks, which come over here for the walls. So gradually we're going to get enough of these to build a perimeter wall. We got enough for, I think, a few hundred of them right now, and of course we'll gradually get more over time as we do more mining. And I wanted to get steel going as well. It's a quick research and good to use up some of the iron while we don't need a ton of it up here in our assembly area. I wanted to use up the iron to get a starter supply of steel. So it's just one more background thing going on. And I didn't really have room to add anything in here because you can see this is, the lab is in the way. So I just put in a metal mixing furnace. I'd eventually convert most of these to metal mixing as well, just so I can control what they're making. But this one starts working on steel. It grabs the iron gradually from the belt, and over time we'll get a decent supply of that going. This bit here is a little bit over-engineered, but it's going to work for what I want. We need resin for rubber and for something else related to electronics. I'm not remembering exactly what at the moment. Yeah, there it is, solder. We need the resin to make the solder from solder plate. So that's here. And then I thought about, how am I going to bring the coal over here? And then eventually I decided not to, because I'm using the wood as fuel, and then we produce resin here and rubber there. Rubber's needed for the wires. Make insulated wires eventually to do any kind of circuit network stuff. That's going to be required, and we just need resin and fuel for that. So the wood's being used for the fuel in here, which is not as efficient as coal, but I thought it was much better as, again, we're just doing the quick and dirty option than trying to drag the coal all the way over here, because there's no real good way to do that at the moment. It could be done, it just would be a little bit annoying. So now we've got the greenhouse over here working full time. And then, of course, whatever we produce here, it just comes out to the east and joins this little route and eventually makes its way through. So, resin and rubber was the next bit of resources to get set up. This is another retread setup with a bit of a difference. But this is the carbon area. I did move the radar a bit to the south just to make room for it. This is where I had to move that. We've got crushed coal coming in here. Of course, I had to do some chemistry research. Basic chemistry, basic coal processing to get to this. But so we've got the crushed coal, it gets furnace fired, whatever, into coke, and that goes into the carbon liquefier, which joins with the carbon dioxide in the carbon liquefier. Also, all of this, all we really need as we need coal for everything. We need coal to crush it. We need coal for fuel here. We need coal to turn to carbon dioxide. So coal is the fuel for everything here. And I didn't make very much of it. I just made very much of the carbon, which we're, again, going to need for the electronics. I didn't make very much of it, but I'm just sort of letting it run here as a demonstration. Now, the one thing that's different is you can see this long-handed inserter doing its little thing, and it's not dumping everything opposite, like from here into here, from here into here, wherever, like they normally do. And that's because my first little time using the Bob's Inserters adjustable option. We come up here, and we do Inserters GUI mode. You can see you can pick where it picks it up from, in this case straight down, and then where it drops it, which is 2 squares to the left. And so you set that, and then you put the inserter down, it can go whichever way. Now I could have found another option for unloading the carbon, but I probably would have had to unload it over here and then like circle around and do some undergrounds, move that electrical pole, maybe snake it in over here or something like that. It would have been really convoluted. And so I just sort of figured, why? Why do that? Or I could have had it come undergrounds through here. But as long as I have this option, so whenever I get into situations like this, I don't plan on using the adjustable inserters a lot, but it is a very nice quality of life feature in Bob's Mods that just gives you more versatility with your setups. And I'm going to use it whenever it seems useful, becomes necessary. Then I spent some time doing some building. I built a whole bunch of nanobot tubes. You can see I've used a bunch of them here, and I've still got 40 left. I also built some termites bots to get rid of some of the trees that were around here in the area. But I wanted to do a couple. I wanted to get some coal over to the west here, southwest, where I'm going to want to set up the next little operation. And so I just sort of extended this belt, and it was worth it to me to sort of future-proof it a bit, to just move this coal field around most of the saffrorite patch. You can see there's some of it over here. I clipped at the bottom because I ran out of room, but most of it I'm just going around, so I'm not going to be in the way of the whole iron operation as we move things around and gradually mine out more of this, keeping this out of the way of all of that. And for the moment, it just sort of runs over here, and this was the first step in building it, getting it over here. And then I worked on how I wanted to get the next bit set up. And eventually we end up with this, which is my last bit to set up for this episode. And it's going to give us the final basic ingredients I need before going with fast inserters and yellow assemblers and all of that fun stuff. For the basic electronic boards, we're going to need solder, for which we need solder plate. And we're going to need tin to put on the wires for the tin copper wire that's needed and all that electronic stuff as well. Use those for, moving forward with anything, circuit networks or, the inserters and the assemblers, as I mentioned. So there's going to be, this is all going to be really necessary, and it's the final resources that are necessary for that. So basically it starts over here, and I only put one drill up for simplicity. Now this is mostly rubite, but some bobmonium coming out. And I prefer to have mostly bobmonium and some rubite, because we're going to need more of the tin that comes from bobmonium than we'll need lead that comes from rubite. But there isn't really an option for that right now. So it's going to be simple, but a bit inefficient. And the reason I don't have that option is I don't have any bobmonium within the borders of our defensive perimeter. It's up to the north more, or off in other directions. We've got multiple fields we could go after, and we'll do that eventually. But this is just the basic, bootstrap, get something going deal. So I've got the 2 ore crushers here, and they'll alternately take the rubite or bobmonium and crush them. And then they'll send them out over here. We've got tin. Or this is the lead one, actually. This is lead from rubite. And this is tin from bobmonium. Here, and then they'll combine in the middle for the metal mixing furnace. And for the first time, I'm actually using the metal mixing furnace to do what it's intended to do, which is mix metals. You can't make solder plate from tin and lead in a standard furnace. You need a metal mixing furnace for that. But I've got these as metal mixing ones as well, just to make sure that I don't have the wrong material going in. And I don't think that's actually going to happen. But it's possible it could. Like if there was no lead left in here, no ore, then it might, and the next one was bobmonium, then it might pick up the wrong one. And if it did that, you'd probably get the other kind down in here, but you could get stuck with like a bit of ore in each of these potentially at some point. I don't think the ore is coming in fast enough to do it, but then the second ore would just go by. I just wanted to avoid all that, so take the simple solution. Of course, you basically got inserter chaos here. And then moving forward, this eventually snakes around to the north and under this and all the way over here and comes out at the resin and rubber station, so then it can head east and join this loop. So the solder and the tin that comes out of there eventually, the solder plate and tin that comes out of there, it's eventually going to make its way over here to our main assembly area. And so with everything set up that I absolutely needed, that pretty much took care of what I wanted to do here. We're up to 8 hours in, and gonna take a break here and come back with the next episode. Thanks for watching, and we should be able to move forward with the final bits of things that we need to repeat from the previous start, and then get into some new material. Hopefully next time we'll be very close to it. So that's going to be something to look forward to. See you next time.